talk a little bit about what a facilitator does in a community of practice. And the facilitator is a very important person. Most communities of practice don't run very effectively unless there is a facilitator that's really actively managing the community. The community of practice is primarily about asking and answering questions, about people getting knowledge from others across the organization. So one of the tasks of the facilitator is to make sure that when a question comes in, that it gets answered. And that facilitator may need to call others to say, there's a really important question up, please come in and answer that question. But their task is to get it answered as quickly as possible, and also to get a variety of answers. So there's not just one answer, but that there are many answers that come in. A second task of the facilitator is to welcome new members, to make them feel comfortable. So when a new member asks a question or a new member joins, very often the facilitator will send them an email message that says, welcome to the community. They might even pick up the phone and call them and get acquainted with them. Try to find out where they're from, what work they've done, what they like doing, what problems they have, and all of these kinds of questions help that member feel like someone cares about them in the community. Another thing that the facilitator does is expresses appreciation. So when someone has provided a very good answer to a question, then the facilitator might again send them a note and tell them how helpful that was and thank them for that, for sending that note. Not just a general thank you note, but a note that really says, when you wrote this, that was very helpful to other people. They might also contact people that ask a very good question, and they might say to them, that question you asked really helped other people, and again begin to get acquainted with those people. One more thing that they do is to ask what happened. So if a person asks a question, many people respond, then those that responded would very much like to know what happened with the information that they gave. Did the person get the problem solved? How did they solve it? So one of the things a facilitator can do is go back to that person that asked the question after it's been answered well and say to them, will you now post online what it was you did because you had all those answers? And that really helps the people who responded, because then they know, it's important to respond because my information is used. I want to say one more thing about this, and that is that what the facilitator is doing is building a safe environment, building an environment where it is okay to ask questions. Because asking questions of other people that you don't know is a little bit of a scary thing. So the facilitator has to work very hard to make sure it's a comfortable environment, it's a safe environment. One way to do that is to bring people together in meetings so they really get better acquainted with each other. It might be a teleconference that the facilitator might bring 10 people together to talk about a topic, or it might be offline so that they have time over lunch to talk, or they might meet in agreement to meet together for an hour and talk through a discussion. Those kinds of things really help the community feel safe. Now, I want to say why it's so important about this safety. And that is because what we know is really a part of our identity. We think of ourselves as being smart or competent in some area. When we share our knowledge, we want to be sure that the people we share with are able to use it, because we don't want just to give our knowledge to people who are going to ignore it or make fun of it or not use it. So we want to make sure those in the community are people who need our information, who know enough to use our information, and who will respect our information. And that's the kind of culture that the facilitator creates in the community. It is a very big job, and I hope you have very good luck in being a facilitator.